Hello and welcome to Mum's Work and Chaos with me, Louise. They say it takes a village to raise a child, so let me help you build yours. During this journey, I'll be learning about everything from neurodiversity in children's literature through to body image post-pregnancy. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello and welcome to this episode of Mum's Work and Chaos with me, Louise. Today I am joined by the wonderful Jo. Hello. Jo has just started her own business all about getting your children ready for school. So Jo, if you could introduce yourself, tell us a bit more about you.
Yes, of course. So hi everyone, I'm Jo and I've been a teacher for over 21 years. I feel very passionate about the early years, so the children of 3 to 5. I've had a lot of experience in different schools, and I help different schools. I can help nurseries and things like that. It's really important for me to be able to really have a deep understanding of that transition into school. So being an early years teacher especially, I find it's really important that you work with parents and children about starting school. It's such a big thing to start school, and the children feel very differently about it and the parents do. So it's really important to help everybody, and that's where my new business comes into play. I've literally just left my job in July. So I was at my last school for thank you. That's it. I was at my last school for 12 years. I was actually deputy head there as well. And I just, each year you get a new cohort of children, and each year I noticed that I would like to be brave enough to start my own business to support that transition into school. I think it's really important. So that's what I did in obviously last year. I handed my notice in. I worked the last year. And I'm here now starting my new business. So it's all about little workshops over 6 venues across Brentwood and Blackmore and different places. And I have our workshops where the children come with the parents, and we explore how to get ready for school.
Amazing. So I've been following you on Instagram. Didn't mean to sound so creepy, but there you go. I've been following you on Instagram, and my wonderful friend Tash from Chicken and Frog Bookshop introduced me to you and your account.
Yeah,
she's flipping amazing, isn't she?
definitely.
And I've seen, obviously you've been at some of the big like play days that have been run in the local area.
Yes.
You've also been running a couple of like starter sessions with for getting ready for school. So I was wondering if you could tell me a bit more about those sessions, how they work, and like the sort of things that you do in them.
Yeah, of course. So originally I was planning to start in September, but then I had lots of people come to me and say, as the children who will be starting in September, could I provide an opportunity to start a little bit earlier? So of course I jumped at that chance. And I started a 4-week block where the parents and children could work with me in 2 venues, and it gave me an opportunity to explore what I'm going to be doing in more detail in September. So it's been a really good opportunity. I've worked with lots of different activities, and how I plan those activities, I go around all the areas of learning. So there's 7 areas of learning in the EYFS curriculum, and I've sort of thought about what do they really need to know, and explored all of those areas in detail. I also focus on a book of the event as well, of the workshop, because I feel good quality books is really important. And that's obviously when I've worked with Natasha from the Chicken and Frog as well previously, because I was English coordinator as well. I know how important it is, to have good quality books and to share language and to just sort of talk about the book, talk about what's happening, ask questions and get that deep understanding of the text. It's really important. So that's part of the workshop. But all the other areas, so communication, understanding, following instructions, and we looked at some creative development, and that might be through small world activities. We've looked at different textures, So, for example, one of the activities was a magical world, and we had natural objects in a tray, but with textures of pasta or lentils, with unicorns and magical keys. And it's all about that language and that discussion of what do you think they're doing, where are they going, what are the keys for? And it's not giving the answers, it's extracting the language from the children. I think it's really
Right.
important to do that. And it's about developing their creative ideas. We've also, I had a theme each time. So we did shape, we looked at number, we looked at formation of letters. And we also have focused a lot on gross motor and fine motor development as well, because that's really important to get those little fingers developing, so that they're able, for the long-term goal, to be able to do the writing and to be able to do the mark making and things like that. So yeah, we've had lots of fun, and I've had some nice reviews, which has been really lovely, because obviously it was just 4 weeks. But when I start in September, they're going to be blocks of either 5, 6, or 7, because they're going to match term time
Oh, amazing.
for schools, so it works with the schools.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool. And like, I mean, you know, from my lockdown experience of becoming a teacher, parent, person, you know,
Yeah.
the joys of fine motor skill development were not lost upon me with the wonders of YouTube and dough disco.
Yes.
So,
We love a dough disco.
oh, that's brilliant. So from September you'll be running these courses for the 24 intake, won't you?
That's right.
And
Yes.
and will you be running these courses like throughout the year as well?
Yes.
So okay,
Yes.
fantastic.
So yeah, so parents can either choose to dip in or out, or some parents want to stay with me for the whole year, because the idea of the program is to build on the skills as you go through, so that towards the end that they're really ready to start school. So it's really important, and it's involving all areas. It's, you know, talking about anxieties, talking about everything really. And also getting feedback from the parents. I think that's important, because I had some discussions with the parents of these workshops, and they were asking really valid questions of, I'm doing this at home, would you carry on with that? And it gave me an opportunity to say, actually, in school, we might do it like this,
Yeah.
or this would be really helpful. And it's that friendly environment where you can actually ask questions, because it is quite daunting, isn't it, going to school, meeting your child's teacher. Whereas I'm hoping to develop that relationship where you can ask me anything and I can help you with that sound knowledge of what it's like going to school and being that reception teacher.
Yeah, I mean, I was super lucky. You know, I'm surrounded by teachers. So you know, my mum used to be a teacher, my best friend's a teacher, my friend Natasha from Chicken and Frog was a teacher.
Yeah.
And so, you know, getting my eldest, I think, prepped for school was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, because I had that sort of like support network of people who already knew what to expect.
Yeah.
And you know, I like in the previous podcast I've done with Tash and with speech therapy for Charlotte, and also Sam from SPD tuition and coaching. We talked about lots of ways that we could sort of like allay anxieties and, you know, help children who are neurotypical and neurodiverse get ready for school and things like that as well. And you know, it's things like, you know, was like showing them the website for school so that they could get used to the idea of, oh, we wear this school uniform, this is what it looks like, you know, or walking to school or driving to school so they could see what the journey would be like. I don't think that parents really, I think parents a lot of the time are thinking, oh yeah, I'm doing this for my child, and don't actually realise that it's actually really helpful for them as well. I was quite anxious about everything. It was like, where do I park? How long does it take to walk from where I'm parking to the school? I love to plan everything out just to make sure, because I hate being the one that's late. I am honest, mum. I am always late, but I hate being late, so I try and plan it out. And so, you know, like we did all of those things, but you touched on it already as well, with like the language and the way we talk to our children and the way
Definitely.
we things. Charlotte actually raised something really that I didn't even realise I'd done, that could be quite anxiety inducing for your child, and that was actually just calling school big school. Because to you, they're going up, it's a bigger school, it's big school. To them, that could sound like every child in the whole entire world goes to this one school, and it could be quite fear inducing. So, like, actually, we've got to be conscious of even the language we use around our children as well, don't we?
Yeah.
And something that I think you'll absolutely love, that that Sam mentioned as well, was like, our children, when they're in a home environment or a nursery environment or preschool environment, they tend to do a lot of their learning in a play-based way, standing up.
Yeah.
And so actually, like, getting your child ready for seated learning as well is quite important. So
it really is. And my favorite thing when the children do first start school is being able to sit on the carpet, because you'd be surprised at the amount of children that cannot cross their legs. So they'll cross their ankles, or they'll cross part of it. So it's adorable when they first start. So anything like that to help, it really is lovely to just sit on the floor with your legs crossed, because you've got 30 odd children in the class. They can't all be with the legs everywhere. So foundation is, especially in a majority of settings, it's still very play based. And especially the outdoor learnings, they get those activities and those times to be able to be physical, moving around. But there are times where it is different at nurseries and preschools, where the children do have to sit down and they do have to listen to certain focus, carpet time, things like that. And some children find that really difficult. You've got whole class and whole school assemblies, you've got different activities like that. And if the children aren't used to sitting down, it can be. I always remember one year where I had, we went to assembly and I had one child just stand up, and I sort of said, oh, come and, he said, no, I'm bored now, I want to go. And it was in front of the whole school, and I thought, oh, bless him, I understand, but you've just got to sit and listen for a little bit longer. So
hard,
it's brilliant. That age is just the best age to work with. They do make me laugh constantly. It's brilliant. And they come, and actually that's what they thought. They thought, I want to go now. I'm fed up of sitting down.
It's so funny though, as well, as the honesty and the so how candid they actually are with their comments is just brilliant, isn't it?
It is brilliant. And you wouldn't want to change that, because it's all about being honest, isn't it? It's about them being able to share who they are in the classroom setting. So I think it's definitely a good thing.
Fantastic. Do you know what, when I was talking to Sam about seated learning, I was honestly like thinking about sitting in a chair. It hadn't even crossed my mind about having to sit cross-legged, because I do it all the time. My eldest does it all the time. We both sit on the floor cross-legged and we'll read a book, and but I don't think I've ever paid attention to whether my 3-year-old, who's starting school in September 24, can do that. I will have to test it out now and find out.
We'll have to find out.
But that's crazy. And when it comes to fine motor skills, it's not just about holding a pen and writing a name, is it? It's also about like doing your school uniform up and things as well after PE.
It's absolutely everything. And my advice would be to a lot of parents is to practice the creative side of the fine motor skills. So it's as simple as, if you're pegging out the washing on your line, get some pegs and get the children to just help you on the line, or to use their fingers to put a peg on a cup or a cardboard box, a cereal box, things like that. It's about lacing cards. It's about getting pasta from a pasta. If you're cooking pasta and you want to give them a little piece of string and say, oh, 5 of these on while I'm doing this. So it's activities like that where you wouldn't necessarily think they're learning, but they're practicing those skills all the time.
My God. I feel like I'm learning so much right now. And they're all busy things that they can do while you're busy as well, aren't they? They're things to keep them busy while you're busy, which is just what you need over summer holidays.
That's it. And it's real life. You've got parents that are doing real jobs, real life, and it's just, how can you bring that in. So you're cooking, you've got pasta, let's do that. You've got different pasta shapes, let's sort them into different bowls. You have your own set, I'll do these. So it's little things like that, activities where you're using everyday objects. You don't go out and buy things, it's using things you already have, using things you've already had, and just see what you can do with them, be creative.
Wow, that is amazing. Literally so many things I hadn't even thought of. I guess, like, the kids love drawing and they love painting and all of that sort of stuff, and I try and like encourage it as much as possible because it keeps them busy for a while. Yeah, it's a bit messy, but at the end of the day, anything they do is going to be messy. Go through Play-Doh like nobody's business. They love mixing the colors, which gives me a heart attack because I hate when the colors are mixed. Every pot of Play-Doh I now own is either multicolored thingy or brown.
Yeah, see?
But if it makes them happy, it keeps them quiet for a while, then that's fine. But again, I guess, like, even using the Play-Doh, the whole dough disco thing, that
Yes, my
motor
exactly.
skills as well, doesn't it?
It's exactly that. And it's whatever I always say to the children, whatever you do on one hand, you do on the other, because you've obviously got a stronger hand and you've got a preference sometimes. Some children don't always. And if you have some dough, you can be pinching it, you can be pushing your finger into it, and then you turn it over and do it with your other hand so that you're getting the muscles developed on both hands. Another thing is cutting. I know a lot of parents think, scissors, but it's such a good skill to have because in the classroom they're using them all the time and they're using them independently. So
Yeah.
it's really important that even if you just give them a little strip of paper and they're just snipping it and they're going across, it's things like that. Again, it's that independence, it's allowing them to use their fingers to create something and to develop those muscles.
Quite a lot of those things, like scissors and things like that, I used to be very scared of letting Usla do things like that. But my mum has always encouraged it. And so since she was about 3, she bought those, wiggly woggly scissors and
Yes.
safety scissors and things like that. And um, so she did get used to cutting things. And I'll be honest with you, she had a really good pencil grip from like the age of like 18 months. And so does my 3-year-old. My nearly 2-year-old is getting there because she copies her sisters, but she's very ambidextrous, so she'll hold a pencil with the right hand, then switch to her left, and whereas the other two weren't like that. They were quite set on the right hand from a really quick age, whereas the youngest is definitely, I think she leans more to the left, but then she also tries the right because she sees the others doing it. And so she's very ambidextrous at the moment. So she might even eat half her dinner with a fork in her left hand, then a fork in her right. So she's just getting used to that at the moment. So I'm not so worried about when she'll pick it up because I know she will, because the others have. But like with scissors and things, I'm not so worried about Indy, my 3-year-old, trying scissors now because Ursula did it and it was successful and it was fine. And so when my mum comes round on a Monday, they tend to do a lot more sort of sticking and cutting and colouring. With me, it tends to be a lot more sort of like Play-Doh, paint sticks, painting, all of that sort of stuff, and helping me with odd jobs. And so, like, before we pressed record, we were talking about following instructions, weren't we?
Yes, definitely.
And I was saying I hadn't really realised, like, when I was, when my eldest was getting ready for school, I was already helping her with the instruction side of things, because she used to have meltdowns about like getting ready in the morning, and also like me doing stuff for her. She's always been very independent, but being the eldest, I had no one else to look after. So, and I was a stay-at-home mum, and so I just sort of like did everything without even thinking about it. But in the end, to allay the meltdowns, I'd be like, okay, can you pick your outfit for today? Can you show me how to put your socks on? How quickly can you get dressed? Could you put this piece of paper in the bin for me? That would be really helpful. Or and one thing I do now, which really helps, if your child runs in the opposite direction when you say you need to brush their hair, try this trick. And it is, ask them to get the hairbrush. It would be really helpful if you could get the hairbrush for me, please. I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
I can't find it. It might be in my bedroom. Can you go get it for me? They come back with the hairbrush. Then you have a child with a hairbrush and they've got nowhere else to go except to have their hairbrush. It's been brilliant. It's a great trick.
Yeah.
I hadn't realised that like those sorts of things were actually helping her get ready for school. And I mean,
Yeah.
I reckon you must find that a lot of parents actually are doing quite a lot of the stuff that they need to do. It's just actually knowing what they're doing and how to refine it.
That's right. And it's about going deeper.
Yeah.
I think because if you think you have a class of 30 children, you cannot be taking everyone's jumper off. It's things like that. So it's about those independent skills. It's about being able to take shoes and socks off. It's being able to dress yourself, getting your own PE kit, and then get out of it again. And it's a lot about self-care, and the children love responsibility. So if you say, oh, I wonder who can take their jumper off, I'm going to close my eyes, and when I open them I'm going to see who's done it. You've got so many children having a good go, and it's a tricky thing. Children get their arms stuck, they try to put their armhole, if they're putting it back on, over their head and not the head. There's so many different things that they do, but they're trying so hard. And it's about being positive and not saying no, that's wrong. It's about saying that is fantastic, what a good try, let's try this. Shall I help you verbally and talking? Because it's so, I get children are getting ready for school in the morning, and I understand parents are rushed. So I have this conversation so many times that they just say, I just don't have time in the mornings. So you always say to them, do it in the when they get in from school, or do it the weekends. Just do it at any time. Pajamas are counted. So before they get into the bath, let them get undressed. So it's not always about their school uniform, and it's about shoes and socks. Let them be independent, because if you're doing an activity like a yoga activity, you might not get changed into their PE kit, but you might take shoes and socks off. Again, they need to be responsible for that. And it's about being aware of what sort of shoes that are appropriate for schools as well. Because if you've got laces and your 4-year-old can't do laces, then they're not going to be independent, and then they're going to get frustrated. So it's giving them the opportunity to be independent. So it's thinking about all of those skills as well. If they've got a coat, can they do it up themselves? Can they do the buttons? Can they undo it? Yes, of course they get stuck, and lots of teachers everywhere help with that, but it's about trying themselves first before they seek help.
My younger two go to a little local nursery opposite the school, so it feeds into the school without actually being attached to it, but a lot, they're a Montessori style nursery. They wouldn't say they're Montessori, but they do incorporate a lot of that sort of thing into it. So there's a lot of imaginative play and things like that. But then they also have recently introduced an optional school uniform, an optional school bag, and things like that as well. And so we've taken them up on it because, it saves on laundry for me. It gives them less choices to make, which is great. So getting ready for school's faster. But also it means that my middle one, who is getting ready for school, knows she's got a uniform, knows she's got a t-shirt she has to wear for nursery. She's got a bag that she takes with her and brings back every day, so she has to remember her bag, because so many kids in reception or foundation walk in with a bag and then walk out without it. And it's like, where's your homework? Where's your reading book? Where's this? Oh, I left it in the drawer. Oh, I left it on the hook. Oh, I don't know where my cardigan is, because it's hanging on a post in the playground somewhere.
Yeah.
Technically now a lost cardigan, and that's the 10th one we've gone through this year. So yeah, label everything, guys.
Yes, definitely.
We so she's getting used to this idea of, I have to bring my bag home. So like sometimes we'll be at the gate about to leave and she'll be like, oh no, I've got to go back and get my bag. Okay, go get your bag. But they also encourage them to wear like Velcro or slip-on shoes, because then they can put them on, take them off and put them on. And so like from the age of about 18 months when she started nursery, my now 3-year-old could put her own coat on, because they taught them to lay it on the floor upside down,
Yes.
put their arms on and flip it over their head.
Yeah.
It became a party trick, and she showed everyone, absolutely everyone in our family, look, I can put my coat on. My nearly 2-year-old has not mastered this yet because she was too young. She's a November baby and my middle one's an April baby, so she had a whole winter to learn, whereas Hannah's not that yet. So this winter she will master it. But my youngest is already trying to put her own shoes on, and probably 6 times out of 10 she's getting them on the right feet, which is brilliant. And
brilliant.
And my 3-year-old, we've stuck those stickers in her shoes, you know, the half circle ones, so that
they're good,
they're the right way round.
Brilliant.
And so she knows that she's got them on the right feet, and so she doesn't have to ask. It saves so many questions. So many times they can ask, is it the right feet, mummy? And then you put it the right way around and somehow they get mixed up again. It's like, no. So yeah, those stickers are amazing. They save a lot of questions. But it's that, you know, I don't have time to get them all dressed or undressed or whatever all the time. And so because I've got 3 and 2 are so close in age, it can be quite a faff. And so the 3-year-old can dress herself mostly. It's just socks she struggles with at the moment, which is fair. My 7-year-old is completely independent, but she also loves the word independent. And so she tries to mother the 3-year-old, and she said, Indy, can you pour this water into this cup independently? So she's I don't think I have to do any work. I think my 7-year-old might actually do all the preparing for me at this rate. But yeah, it's just really funny, like watching them together, and the amount of stuff my 3-year-old picks up from my 7-year-old is fantastic.
It's great.
But the thing is that all of this prep, it doesn't just help the teacher, it doesn't just help the whole class, it helps you at home as well, doesn't it? I mean,
exactly.
It saves so much time and energy when they can actually do things for themselves, and you know, and you know, do that stuff. And I think as well, like Asla wasn't very confident with her writing when, like, she could write her name and everything when she started school, but because we'd gone into lockdown just as she was finishing nursery before she started in reception, we then were out of lockdown for that first bit of reception, and then back in lockdown over the Christmas till the summer term. And so I think she went into school and she wasn't 100% confident with her writing, and I think that actually held her back from a few things with her English that she could have probably been further along with if she'd have been more confident with that pencil grip and getting the letters the right way round, you know, because they mirror everything. They do. It's not a conscious thing. They just do it. They don't even realise they're doing it, and it's perfectly normal, isn't it, to mirror your writing, but the brain's still configuring left and right side and everything, isn't it?
It is.
All the random neuroscience-y bits I've picked up trying to work out how my child thinks. But I remember thinking, like, oh my God, this is so frustrating. You know, I was getting frustrated with it, which wasn't helping her because we had that block of homeschool during lockdown.
It was hard.
Yeah. But I mean like, preparing them with pencil grip and practicing writing and copying writing and things at home as well will help set them up for school, won't it?
Yeah, it really does. And a lot of parents are worried that they are expected to write their name before they come to school, and they're really not. what I would recommend is that they can draw shapes or lines. So to do something like a zigzag line, or we call them writing patterns. So it could be, but it's not necessarily letters. So it could be things that go up and down, zigzag, line break, things like that. So they're getting used to using their hands. But
Yeah.
it's also not just doing pen or pencil to paper. Use mud, go outside and have lots of mud and get a stick and do exactly the same. It's about using a car again in mud. You might use a track and use your car to go and make those shapes. So it's about developing those fingers, and painting, brilliant, finger painting as well.
Yeah.
It's about providing all those opportunities to mark make. And then if your child can obviously write their name, brilliant. Something else that I think a lot of teachers find is that children come to school and they can write their name but in capital letters. And
Yeah.
that's something else that's quite common. And it's the fact that when they come, we then have to reteach them how to do it capital letter at the beginning, but then the rest are lowercase. So
Yeah.
that's something that a lot of parents have not thought about as well. So that's a handy little tip of, if you are going to help support your child write their name, do it in lowercase apart from the first letter. And it's all about that formation. You'd rather them get the first letter, to write the first letter and it be formed correctly, than to write their whole name and it, for example, an A to be a circle with a little stick. So it's about having those opportunities to actually form the letters correctly, if that's something that people want to do. But again, it's not an expectation before they start school.
Yeah. I think that's the thing as well, isn't it? Like, I remember us getting those worksheets as part of our homeschool packs.
Yes.
Uh, you know, having been used the free version of Twinkle regularly, and
Yes.
like, Asta loves colouring in. That's something that she absolutely loves. And Indy has been practicing colouring in things recently because she wants to, nursery have like sort of set her a challenge to make sure that her colouring's more within the lines.
Yeah.
And so, like, she's been enjoying colouring in with Asta as well, to try and like stick to in the lines. But like, you can Google colouring in pages, you can Google those worksheets and they come up, and
Yeah.
you print them off, and you can, or you could do it so that it's like a, the humps on the back of a dragon, or
Yeah.
the waves in a sea. Can you draw me a wave in the sea? Can you do me this? Can you do me that? And
That's right.
for the rain coming down from the clouds, that's all the dashy lines and things as well. So
Yeah.
there's loads of ways to make those sorts of things a bit more creative as well, isn't it, than
Yeah.
just the boring old zigzag worksheet, or the
Yeah.
wonderful book that you get that you think you have to buy for your three
Oh, I
books
know. Yes.
and all of that stuff. I think, like, if you there's so many ways to like just reconfigure it a bit to make it a bit more exciting, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. And you can relate it to topics as well. So when it's Christmas, you could draw 5 stockings, just the outline, and then say to your child, could you do some diagonal patterns on that one, circles on that one, and or an Easter egg, do an Easter egg outline. Can you do that? If they like, for example, butterflies, you could draw an outline of a butterfly and just say, oh, could you have a look at the wings? What could you do? What sort of writing patterns could you do on there? So it's you can do so much with it. You really can.
That's cool. So realistically, what would be your expectations for a child starting school? What would you sort of want to see? What would your wish list as a reception
Oh,
teacher be?
oh, I would have lots on my wish list. I really would. Okay, so a big wish would be for the children to be independent, or beginning to become confident in being independent. And that's with anything. So that's with self-care, going to the toilet. It could be self-care, getting a tissue, wiping their own nose. It could be at snack time, pouring their own milk or water. It could be things like peeling their own orange, or peeling their own banana. So many children, they sit there and they give you the banana and you say, will you have a go? And they say, I don't know how. So there's a big number of children and I get that time, you just do it for them. But it's about providing those opportunities. If you do something at home, you might think, can I let them have a go at doing it? And of course, some oranges are quite tricky, so we might start them off. But at school, you are expected to be independent, putting your own apron on. I always say to children that if you can't do it yourself, you ask a friend before you ask a grown up. And then there's that dialogue between friends, same age, helping each other before a grown up gets involved. And even as an adult, you learn so much from that if you take a step back sometimes. So that's definitely independent self care. A wish list would be, I think, to be able to, I think, involve story time. So I'm very passionate about stories and good quality texts. And I think it's really important for children to be able to discuss what they are hearing and discuss what they're seeing, and to be able to ask questions and relate it to their lives. So if they are reading a book about something in particular, it's about the adult asking those really interesting questions of not just a yes or no answer. It's about providing an open-ended where they can be really creative and come up with all sorts of different ideas. I think that would be a lovely wish list, because children do find that hard. So a lot of teachers at school work hard with that. So if parents could do that even before they start school, it gives them a little bit of a head start, really. Going back to independence as well and self-care, you'd be surprised at how many children can't eat with a knife and fork and actually cut up their own dinners.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that they are expected at school to be able to do. So that is something else that if people want to work on, I think that's a good thing. And even things like having knife and fork set with dough, so they can make their own dough food and then pretend to cut it. So it doesn't have to be a real food, it's developing that skill,
Yeah.
um, which is really important. I think to be able to follow instructions when children start school, they have to follow instructions to put their book bag away, their coat on their peg. It could be their water bottle in a tray. And yes, the routines will be different in a school setting to a home setting, but you're still doing very similar things. So it could be give them a 1 or a 2-step instruction. So could you get your book bag and go and put it on the bottom of the stairs? And so they've got to go and get their book bag, then they've got to process and put it on the bottom of the stairs. You could do anything at home, go and get that book and then go and sit there. And then once they can get 2-step instructions, develop it to 3. And I think sometimes the children can do 1 and 2, and then they might look at you to think, what was number 3? And you might have to repeat it again.
Yeah.
But these sort of things, they do a lot in school. So that would be a big wish for children to be able to follow and listen to instructions and actually understand them,
Yeah.
definitely as well. Let me think. So I think starting school, a big thing is for children to be able to self-regulate their emotions. And I think it is a huge thing starting school. And I think my wish list would be for children to be able to be honest and really talk about it and feel free that if it's a scary thing, let's verbalize that and let's talk about it. And I think, again, you can do that in so many different ways as a teacher and as a parent. And actually nursery providers as well. I know that I've worked with lots of them before where we would provide school uniforms for them so that they can actually, and little booklets about starting school so that they're developing all of that language, and hopefully the emotions and the feelings towards it are always a positive one, because I'm sure there are many children out there it is frightening, or they're really excited, they're really happy. Some children are either way, they don't mind, it's just what's happening, they're just starting school, and it's about being able to be free to talk about that emotion. I think that's good, so you can talk about those strong feelings as well. I think another wish would be to learn how to interact with other children and to develop friendships. That's quite a hard thing. You've actually got to teach that skill. Some
Mm.
children just stand next to another child and it should just happen. It doesn't naturally happen. And so I think that would be another wish, to be able to provide those opportunities. Just go to the park, have play dates, and let those relationships develop naturally, as well as giving a little bit of a support.
When
So yes.
when my eldest started school, we didn't have like a settling in day the end of the previous school year begin
Right.
before going in September. So she didn't get an opportunity to go around the school or see the classroom or anything because like we were in COVID.
Mm.
And so she wasn't able to go back to she didn't go back to nursery until July. And then the school wasn't offering us to go see the school before she started in September because of all of that
Okay.
stuff going on. I know a lot of schools do. You can go before they start in September and before they start having those settling in days in September. But that first, like, I think we went for I think it was like 2 hours, and the parents stayed the first time we went. And
Yeah.
it was really funny. So before, like a couple of days before we went, I got her in her school uniform. I got her to try everything on and check that she was happy with it. I got her to try the top button, but no one can ever do that. She has to wear like proper shirts and ties and things. So she, we tried top button and things and getting used to all of that. And can she do the buckles up on her shoes? Did we need to get Velcro ones and all of that sort of stuff? And then I sat down with her and I said, okay, so if you see another child playing with something that you also want to play with, what do you do? And
Yeah.
she's, I'll wait my turn. And I said, or you could go up and you could say, hello, my name is Asta. What's
Yeah.
yours? Can I play with you? And she was like, oh, okay. And she was at quite a big nursery setting, and she had best friends, and she had friends, and she knew
Yeah.
names and everything. But it hadn't occurred to her that she might have to ask to be
No.
friends with people, or ask people's names, or ask to play with them with something. And so I sort of like coached her into
Yes.
how to do this. And so I was like, right, okay, so like I'm going to be with you, but what we're going to do is if you like something or you see someone with something that you want to also play with, try that. And she was like, okay, cool. So I'm sat there with another mum who I'm now really good friends with, and our kids met within like the first 20 seconds of being in the classroom together and are best friends, which is amazing. And so we're sat there together, and this lady's daughter comes over, and she had a Frozen book, and Asta goes to her. She looks at me and she was like, okay.
Oh.
My name is Asla. What's your name? And she was like, oh, my name's so and so. She was like, I like Frozen too. Can I read
Oh.
that book with you? And they sat on the carpet and read the book together because Asla had learned to read pictures at
Yeah.
nursery, which is the first books they get given in reception anyway, isn't it? Is
Yeah,
pictures,
that's right.
no words. And so
Yeah.
learned to read books with just by the pictures in
Yeah.
nursery and at home. Like we'd read the books and she'd say, oh, this they've got a dog, we've got a dog, and things like that. And so it was like she'd pick out things from the story anyway and explain them to me, like, and
Yes.
rationalize them according to our home environment anyway. But and so it was like I felt like that was my one achievement, was coaching her into how to make
Oh.
friends on the first day, because I had that anxiety, that worry that she wouldn't make any friends. I didn't need to. She's flipping popular. She's got loads of friends. It was I remember being nervous about making friends and moving school when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I moved to a different primary school and having to learn to make friends with kids who were already friends, and
It's
things like that.
hard.
And so I was like, oh my god, she's got to make friends. So
Yeah, it's so hard.
it's just really funny, isn't it? So like watching her actually make a friend, I felt okay in the end.
Yes. No, it's lovely, isn't it? Because it just comes naturally to some children, other children it really doesn't. And it's giving them the tools to be independent with searching for friendships. It's really important
Yeah,
because, it's there are so many French children that you could put together, but actually it's about them taking ownership over that as well, and looking at children that have got similar interests. And going back to the sharing, a favourite of mine is having a sharing timer. So having a 5-minute timer, and it's called the sharing timer. So if you've got another child that's playing with something you want, they have to take the sharing timer, go over and say, when the timer's finished, can I please have a turn? And the rule is that the child has to say yes, but then they can take the sharing timer after that and do the same again, so that it gives that bit of independence of them actually sharing. Because I think some children think sharing is please give it to me, whereas it's actually no, you've got to take turns. That's the whole point of it, and share it together. So yeah, it's important.
I think that's so true. You don't really, they don't even really realize, do they? It's like you have to share, you have to now give it to me. But yeah, it's like when you go to the park and you've got to wait for the swings or wait for your turn on the slide and all of that stuff. It's sort of equates then to other objects and other things.
It does,
because those spaces are occupied, they can't be in them, whereas the things they can snatch.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the way it goes in my house. So yeah, it's that sort of thing, isn't it? It's realizing that those spaces and objects are essentially the same, and if it's occupied by a person, you can't have it yet.
That's right.
You can have it in a bit when that person's done with it. And so yeah, it's all fun and games. And if you have more than one child, you're probably already doing quite a lot of the stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it sounds amazing. I will be booking on for my middle one, because she's definitely going to need a bit more support, being a COVID baby and quite a shy, slightly nervous child. I think it would do her and myself a lot of good to come along and take part in your sessions as well. So
that's fantastic.
I'll talk to you about it afterwards. But it's I just think they sound brilliant, and what you're doing is helpful, not just for obviously not just for the teacher, but for the parent and the child. And having, I think, as a parent, you've got so much going on all the time. You've got the juggle of children anyway, and you've got work. Trying to then take the time to find the information you need to do the things to help prepare your children for school can be so difficult and time consuming. So being able to utilize a service such as the one that you provide is really helpful, really useful. And yeah, I look forward to taking part.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
No, thank you.
Is there anywhere that people can go to find out more information about you and what you do?
Yes, definitely. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I've got my own website as well. So on Instagram, I'm School Ready with Jo. You can search for me straight away. And the same with Facebook as well. So it's at School Ready with Jo. And my email, would you like me to share that?
Yes.
Fabulous. So my email is admin@schoolreadywithjo.co.uk. And then obviously my website is www.schoolreadywithjo.co.uk. Try and remember everything. It's a lot of new things. I've learned a lot since starting the new business. And the website does go into lots of detail about what I've been doing, the theory behind it, the educational side. And I will be updating it as I do lots of different workshops as well. So it gives you an example of the different pictures and shows you, obviously, Instagram and Facebook as well. It has lots of reels and photographs of actually what's happening and the children's work that they produce, or just the variety of activities that we've got. Because the idea as well is to promote activities that you can do at home. It's not just expensive things I've bought in. It's a real mixture so that you can do these activities at home and be inspired to carry on the learning at home.
Amazing. And the next event that you're at is the Hutton Recreational Grounds Family Fun Day, isn't it?
That's on Friday. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Oh,
so an opportunity to, if anyone wants to come and say hi and ask any questions. Yes, it will be my third event that I've done like that. It's different, all of them, but they've been really good fun.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And everyone, I really would encourage you to follow Jo on her socials. I've learned so much already, but it's a great way to keep up with everything that she's doing, and to also be able to navigate to her website from there as well. But thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you. It's been lovely.
If you enjoyed this episode of Mum's Work and Chaos, please make sure to subscribe on whatever podcasting channel you're listening on at the moment. Or if you'd like to get involved, feel free to email me at mumsworkandchaos@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at mumsworkandchaos. See you then.